Hello and welcome to American Falls. This is episode 3. We're just busy getting the big John Deere fertilizer spreader all filled up so that we can do the 3 contracts that we have. So we have 3 contracts in fairly close proximity to each other, and we'll get to show you that on a bit of a time lapse coming up pretty soon. And later on you'll see all the mistakes that I make as a big city boy in the when we are busy planting our field out. So hang around for that, but in the meantime enjoy this extended view of this big spreader doing its thing at pace and pretty efficiently, really. Enjoy. We'll see you back afterwards.
At 29 and I find myself wondering what did happen to the last 10. I ran away with my life, fast forward, never turn back again. It's kind of funny that the more we pass time, the more we need to set the rewind. And 19 was the year I had to leave you, but now I'm seeing all the signs. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you. Is this really happening? I can't be too sure, but one day I'll be yours again. Life lessons come 1 in a dozen. The other 11 give something from nothing. I sit here looking for an answer. Maybe the biggest question was in the last chapter. You gave me the soul I have today. Without you I never could have moved away. But now I see what you teach. I do believe I always should have stayed. Yeah. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you. Is this really happening? I can't be too sure, but one day I'll be yours again. One day I'll be One day I'll be yours. One day I'll be yours. Life lessons come 1 in a dozen. The other 11 give something from nothing. Life lessons come 1 in a dozen. The other 11 give something from nothing. Life lessons come 1 in a dozen. The other 11 give something from nothing. Life changes just open the door. One thing's certain, I'll always be yours. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you. Is this really happening? I can't be too sure, but one day I'll be yours. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as
We're back. Well, as you can see, it was pretty efficient. It was done pretty quickly. Nice bit of money made. And I thought, as soon as I have the sprayer out, the field that came with purchasing the land for the farm, the sugarcane needs a bit of fertilizing, so I thought I might as well do that. Still got plenty of fertilizer remaining in the tanks, so that we will get that done. It's a fairly odd-shaped field, and even though we've reclaimed some of the field for the sheds, the equipment sheds, there's still quite a bit of sugar cane here that I think will bring in a tidy bit of income once we've harvested. It's going to cost a bit to harvest because we're going to have to lease the equipment, and pretty sure we won't have the money to buy the expensive sugarcane harvesting equipment, and I'm not sure that we'll be doing a lot of sugarcane. We might, we'll not say never. We'll never say never, should they say. Yeah, so as I say, a bit of a odd-shaped field, and it was odd-shaped to start with, so it's not that the bit of land that we reclaimed made it odd-shaped. In fact, it's made it most probably less odd-shaped. In any event, let's get going. Well, we are getting going. The joy of this is that it works at this John Deere, it works at a pretty nifty pace. It's got a really wide, I think 42 meter spreading width, so that's very good. The other nice thing about this is that the spray unit is modular, so I can offload this spray unit's got fertilizer in, and then we can buy, if we ever need to spray off weeds, we can buy another modular unit or spray unit for the herbicide. Of course, we could just wash out the tanks, but it's probably what we will do to start with. But yeah, so there is that option, so you can use the same vehicle for both jobs. Really, you should have, most probably will try to get a second one then. They're not cheap, but they're not that expensive, and a lot cheaper than buying two separate individual spraying units. Just see how much money we make before we need to fertilize. Not fertilize, we are fertilizing, we need to spray off weeds. Just finishing off that last little bit, and then that's done. Yeah, so the first part of this video has been pretty much all spraying. I think you're pretty well acquainted with the John Deere sprayer. It works really, really well. Very happy with it. As I say, cost-wise, particularly if you're going to have two sprayers, one for fertilizer and one for herbicide, very, very cost efficient, because you can use the same vehicle for both jobs, obviously not at the same time. As mentioned in the last episode, I've traded in the two tracked vehicles, and I'm buying this beast of a machine, this John Deere. We're not going to take it to its full power just now. It's 468 horsepower is plenty for the moment. It can go up to just over 500, but that was 100,000 more, so I decided not to do that. We're going to put white tires on it, and we'll put the the sensor units on as well, so that it can do all the precision farming jobs as well. Nice machine, big. It'll handle that job pretty easily. The downside, of course, is that we had 2 tractors that we could use in different venues, but we've got 3 other fairly high horsepower tractors that will be able to rotate through, so I don't think it's too much of a problem. Personally, I thought we had too many tractors. Oh, you can never have too many tractors, can you? Yeah. No, that's good. So we're going to go and plant the field that we ploughed up in the last episode. We're going to plant that with wheat, I think. Get it productive this season before the cold weather comes in. Oops, just got to get it up, aligned decently. We've got a huge planter. It's probably a little bit big for that little field, but as I said, I like that field because I get to show all the equipment and all the things that we're doing on that field nice and quickly. You don't have to sit and watch me go through a huge big field just to show you a piece of equipment. Let's just get this opened up and ready for fertilizer and seed. This plant obviously does both at the same time. Got a nice working width. Does require a bit of oomph to move it and seed. So our store bin, replenishing bin, is placed in a nice convenient position, so as we bring our vehicles out of the shed, it's pretty much the first stop along the way, so pretty convenient. And we'll get out to the field and go and start planting the wheat. With this big equipment that I'm in the farmyard is fairly tight, but it's not bad. I mean, this is pretty much the biggest machinery, well, not the biggest, but getting up there towards the biggest machines that can be used. It's just this glorious little drive out to the field every time. Nice and close, as I said. Gives me the option to show you what we have, how we're doing it. Get this all set up. I'm going to plant wheat. We'll get straw, and then I did look it up. Wheat looks like it brings a better price than barley, so we'll get that done. We had oats in before, so I didn't want to plant oats, and I don't think we can plant oats at this time of the year anyway. So I think it was a choice of wheat or barley. Wanted to get another crop in, seeing as we only have the one field at this stage. Our next priority is to buy another field for ourselves. I think we'll buy the field pretty much adjacent to us, next door to us. It's fairly big. I haven't looked at the pricing yet, but we'll get that done. Right, and this is where I started realizing that I had made a schoolboy area, or a city boy area as I've called it. I hadn't quite realized just yet, but as I get to the top of this, I start noticing that the field is not showing it's fertilizing. And I realized that I had set dispensing. I'd switched off the auto dispensing on the settings when I did the contracts to limit the amount of the amount of fertilizer that we're using. I also realized when I went back to check there that I had not limed this field, and I don't like to lime after I've planted, so that's going to affect our yield as well. So altogether not a very good option. So I made the decision not to increase the fertilizing level at this point in time. So we'll save a little bit on the solid fertilizer, but we've still got fertilizer in the spreader, and after the crop is germinated we'll at least do a good fertilizing of the field, just to bring that back into line. So that should be sorted out. We're not going to need to weed because we've ploughed this field, so that's not going to be a problem. So we won't have to spread herbicide. So the real cost is the yield that we lose from not liming. It's probably going to be 2-3% down on yield. A real basic error. I don't think I've made that. I'm not sure whether I've ever made that error in forgetting to lime a field. I don't think I ever have. So playing true to form on the Lanciboi new farmer stakes. Fabulous. Actually worked out quite well for the little storyline. I mean, it's not a huge storyline going through this one, but it's kind of played into their hands there. This tractor's working nicely. Pulling the spec thing, no problem. There's a slight uphill, but it's not much. So it's not really tested. Also going to really make short work of this field. With regard to the fertilizing, I will wait for the crop to germinate. So most probably in the next episode or the next month is when we'll pop out and fertilize it. Give us some winter work to do as well. I don't know whether we'll have many contracts that we'll be able to do for the rest of the farmers. The rest of the farmers are starting to warm up to me, even though they know that I'm a city boy turned farmer, or turning farmer. Haven't turned farmer yet, really, as you've noticed with this faux pas. We can recover most of it, but yeah, I think I was just so excited to use this new tractor, and I could have done a spreader. The other thing, of course, is I don't have a lime spreader, so I would have had to lease one, and I think it still would have been cheaper to lease it compared to the loss in yield. It's just my general feeling. I don't know for sure, I've never tested it. So of course we'll get straw from this as well, which I'll add to the cow shed. I'm not really sure exactly when we're going to be in a position to start with the cattle. I think we'll start with just a few and build it up over time. The object is to be a mixture of cattle farm or self-sufficient cattle farm with some arable farming thrown in. So the thing that we do have to look for is we don't have a grass field, so we'll need to start thinking about getting a grass field. So I'm not sure. It's probably going to be better to try and look for a grass field in the next field to buy, or we'll play that by ear. We'll look at that in a bit more depth in the next episode. So we're just about finishing off planting now. As I say, I'm using this field just to show everything in its entirety once. So in future we'll do these either in a jump cut or on a time lapse, just depending on what we're doing. What the possibility of things going wrong are, really. It's a bit like the news. It's always more exciting, or makes better viewing when things go wrong than when things are going right. I'm not sure that that's always the case though, but still. Right, we just had that little piece that we missed. We'll get this back and parked up, and then we'll head on down to the store and go and pick up a roller. So we going to have to roll, because we're going to have to try and get the rest of the rest of the steps of planting 100% correct, so that we don't lose out any more yield than we're already going to. The parking of this, the reversing of this implement in is going to be pretty tight. As you can see, I did make one mistake driving into the crop there, which is another Lanciboi error. I don't think I showed that. Can't remember exactly when that happened, but yeah. Just have to work this out. A little bit more difficult then, because it's a articulated tractor. Just got to work it a little bit more. Don't think I got the starting angle right, but we'll get in. Just takes a bit of concentration and practice, I suppose. Just don't go into the field. So far so good. Swing it around. That's better. That's going in nicely now. Lanciboi's learning. Still not right, still not perfect, but he's learning. Right, so let's head off down to the store and go and buy ourselves a roller. So I'm not going to go for the biggest roller out. Going for the next one down, just so that it can be used with different types of implements. And in the past I found this one to be more efficient, should I say, because it's easier to handle on the smaller fields, and it's still big enough to do a reasonable job, especially if you put a worker on it on the bigger fields. So that's kind of the reason why I went for this one rather than the smaller one, and of course it was cheaper as well. But yeah, this tractor's a bit overkill for it, but I like driving it. Alright, so get back to the farm. We'll just drive straight onto the field. Get it opened up and get going. So this went reasonably smoothly. but I do like the, as you'll see, the dust effect. And it shouldn't take too long to get this going. Come on, come on. Still, every time I work this field, that view going down the hill here still gives me great pleasure. We've done it a pretty few times. I still enjoy it. Now in the autumn the colours are even more beautiful. That's not the reason that it's taken me so long to get this machine into position. More new boy farmer antics. And off we go. Yeah, so we producing. We are, now what is the word I was looking for? That all I can think of is produce now. We're moving along nicely, let's put it this way. We're going to still have to, well, we have to maintain doing contracts because it's part of the deal that we made with the powers that be in this area, that we would help out the other farmers as we were growing our own business. So we're going to have to do contracts every time they are available. As I say, in winter time I don't know how many there will be. Yeah, so this is, as you can see, not quite as wide as the bigger machine. I think the bigger machine is 24 odd meters wide. But certainly for this size field, this is pretty much overkill, really. But it'll be okay on the bigger fields as well. And of course we can upgrade once we get more money, if need be. I think we've got the pulling power on the farm to use most machinery now. We've got a good spread of horsepowers. We've got nothing really small, and we might have to look at that once we get the cattle going. A small tractor for doing the jobs around the yard. But we'll see. I think one of our tractors does have the ability to have front-end loader equipment put on it, I'm pretty sure. So yeah. I was watching a video of, I think it is Welker Farms, quite recently, and one of the guys was saying, he was talking about his headers on his combines, and he was saying that he doesn't really know how many headers he's got. He knows more or less, but doesn't know exactly how many headers he's got. And I thought, well, how can you not know that? And then he went on to say, well, they have so much equipment on that farm that it's just impossible to know exactly how many of things you've got. He pretty much knows how much he's got of the big stuff, but sometimes with the implements not. And while I was talking, about that and saying, I think I've got some front end loader. And I thought, yeah, I mean, I don't have a huge amount of equipment, but I can't remember whether I've got a front end loader or not. I know I've got a tractor that can do it, but have we got a front end loader for it? I don't know without going to check up in the records. So all of a sudden understand what he was saying. Fabulous. Always nice to tie some, well, not my real life, but real life situations. Looking good. I like that tractor. It just looks powerful. Sounds powerful. It can do everything at the required speeds. Of course, the rolling is a bit slower than the planting was, but it's another thing that must probably be given to a worker to do in most cases. But as it's a tradition now in this series, we're just going through this operation. GPS is at the top. We have our GPS receiver on the top of the middle barn. I didn't go for a dedicated building, I just went for the rooftop GPS sender. Working pretty well. Of course, I'm not using any GPS ploughing at the moment. I'm doing this all freehand as such. We're just about finished it now. A couple more passes and we're done. Yeah, so on the agenda, next big thing on the agenda is to look for another field. A field that can be, well, it is already grass or can be made into grass. So I don't know whether this field here whether it would be big enough for us to, it might be an idea after this crop is to put this to grass, this field to grass, and use the bigger fields that we might buy for arable crops. Provided, of course, this field can produce enough grass to feed the cattle. But we can always buy it. I think it will to start with. So I think that'll be the idea. So we'll put this field to grass once this crop has been harvested. Probably going to delay buying the cattle, but what we will try and do is get a few cattle in, maybe even buy in some feed for it to start with, just so that we can get the breeding process going. You know, maybe get 10 cows in calf, give us a bit of milk to start with as well. And just start breeding up the herd from there. I think that'll be the idea. Right, so that's pretty much that done. Just go and park this off. And I think that's where we're going to end this episode. So once again, just thank you so much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed this, and if you have, please like and subscribe. Hit the button, hit the bell, so you can be advised when the next episode comes out. And I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you, and cheerio.